Now, for more, we're joined by Dr. Michael Szanto, a global economy and international relations expert. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So, look, Gaza is on the Mediterranean coast. We've got Israel and Jerusalem on one side, ancient Egypt on another. The potential for tourism and growth is there. The money is also not really an issue per se, and therefore a high likelihood of another war and of another round of destruction. Are investors going to, well, invest?
No, I mean, from a private sector perspective, it's not a good investment bet. And we've seen this show before, going all the way back to the beginning of the Oslo process in 1983. But certainly, Saudi Arabia is not a democracy, and the government pretty controls an enormous amount of the economy through the oil revenues. So the Saudis, for example, and a few other wealthy Gulf Arab states wanted to bring that kind of money forward. They could, and it may be worth a shot, but you got to get the Hamas terrorists out of power first, or else there's a lot of other problems that will get in the way of economic development and tourism that you mentioned.
So the plan has to include both. Now, what is the main incentive to get these investments from Gulf and Arab countries right now?
So it's regional security, and the Saudis and other Gulf Arab states like United Arab Emirates, Qatar to a certain extent, they've been doing this since Oslo in particular, sometimes in a way before, but less because they didn't have relations with Israel till the 90s of any sort. And of course, you have the Abraham Accords taking it to a further level with United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and Morocco. They have a huge incentive. That's why the Saudis have been behind the scenes so funding the Palestinian Authority in conjunction with the United States and our European allies. So it's a global stability play. It makes sense. It's been talked about for decades. Ironically, there was a 1953 UN, I think it was 1953, United Nations Egypt plan backed by the United States to actually move some Gazans even into Sinai, but as part of an economic development. So economic development leads to peace. That was the idea behind the original Oslo Accords, and that was the major idea actually even in terms of the Abraham Accords.
All right, well, so what will come first now? Are we talking about maybe countries looking into giving loans, or perhaps looking for other ways to fund and help out the Palestinian reconstruction, with the Palestinians in Gaza having an active role in reconstructing their own country in a different way than just giving them money? How can we see this happening?
Well, I mean, even in terms of the construction and infrastructure type of teams that would clear the debris from the war that Hamas and Iran started, that would probably take outside contractors. The safety would be ensured. There's the political issue of the fact that Hamas role is not acceptable to the United States, Israel, or Europe at this point. So that has to be dealt with. But you have to deal with the security. And so it's actually going to be tricky. It could be structured as loans or grants. That can be done. We have to see what kind of governing authority, and it's probably going to take, again, as I said, outside contractors getting in, and their safety has to be ensured. That might require some sort of military force. That might require armed contractors. So the technical issues here and some of the logistics will be a little bit complicated.
All right, Dr. Michael Szanto, thank you very much for your input this evening.
You're very welcome. Have a great evening.
You too.